years ago, we said, I do, with starry eyes, big dreams, and absolutely no clue what was ahead. What we've built since then, it's nothing short of a miracle, but not the kind that you stumble into, the kind you fight for. In this episode, we're celebrating our 15-year anniversary by pulling back the curtain on what these years have really looked like. The seasons that nearly broke us, the shifts that saved us, and the joy that surprised us. From babies and big moves to starting businesses and almost losing each other in the chaos, we're sharing the truth behind the highlight reel. Whether you're newly married, years deep, or still waiting on your person, our prayer is that this conversation reminds you that marriage isn't about perfection. It's about choosing to stay, to grow, and to become. Let's talk about what 15 years has taught us about unity, faith, forgiveness, and real love. You were created to live abundantly and multiply in every area of your life. But let's be honest, the road isn't always easy.
We know that firsthand. We've been through highs and lows, from losing everything to now managing an investment fund, and we're still on the journey.
This podcast isn't about having it all figured out. It's about real stories, kingdom principles, and trusting God with what's already in your hands.
On Mandate to Multiply, we go deep into faith, family, finances, and other topics, sharing what we've learned and what we're still learning as we walk it out with Jesus.
If you're ready to think bigger, live boldly, and multiply what matters most,
then you're in the right place. We're Jonathan and Melissa Edmiston, and this is Mandate to Multiply.
All right, so welcome to episode 6 of the Mandate to Multiply podcast. I am one of your hosts, Melissa Edmiston, and this is my amazing husband,
Jonathan Edmiston.
Yeah, so today we're talking about, first of all, happy 15-year anniversary.
Happy anniversary, babe.
We did it. We made it 15 years so far and have a lot more to go.
We do.
We kind of wanted to take a little bit of a break on this episode. I know we've kind of been taking you guys behind the scenes of our story going way back and bringing you along the journey. We kind of wanted to pause on that we have more of that coming and it's about to get actually really good and really wild. But we wanted to pause, and this is kind of like a bonus episode where it is our 15-year anniversary. It's actually tomorrow on the day that we're recording. And so we wanted to kind of stop. I said to Jonathan, 15 years is a long time. And it's also, I think, a big deal to celebrate and talk about our marriage and what we've learned. And we still have a lot more to learn and walk through. But we kind of just wanted to bring everybody in on what the last 15 years has looked like, what we've learned, and how, by the grace of God, we are where we are today. So let's kind of go back to how we met. I know we love telling the story in a little bit of 2 different versions. We joke about the story a lot, but I'm just going to give a little bit of pre-story and then I'll let you start the story because I know you like to tell it your way.
The right way.
The right way, of course. But before that, Jonathan and I had, obviously we had been single. He had businesses. I was working. I was pretty independent, had my own place, was newly following the Lord as of a year before we met. And we were both ready to get married, but we were also just making sure that we waited for the right person. And so that's kind of where we found ourselves. Funny enough, right before I met Jonathan, I was kind of in this place before meeting him that I went through a little bit of a desperate season. Okay, when is my husband coming? This is taking forever. Jesus, I love you now, so you can bring me my husband. It'd be really great. And I got to a point where I just really let it go. I surrendered everything. I gave it to God. I said, you know what, Lord? I'm going to stop trying to find my husband, and I'm just going to find you. And I'm going to focus on serving other people, serving at church, and just learning about you and who you are. And when the time is right, I know you'll bring my husband. And so at church, there wasn't a place for people our age at the time, 20s, early 20s, mid 20s, to really just hang out without going to a bar or to a club and really neither of the places we wanted to meet somebody. So we told our pastor at the time, hey, we kind of need a group for our age. There's the young children's ministry, there's the youth, and then there's older adult things. We need something for 20 and 30 somethings. And he's like, great, why don't you go ahead and start it? So me and 3 girlfriends of mine started the singles ministry at our church, went all in on setting up events, having activities. And that is actually how Jonathan and I started meeting, like dating and spending time together. So I say that to say, I was really wanting a husband, stop stop focusing on finding a husband. And not very long after we launched the singles ministry, we got engaged. So, and all of the girls that were leading that group actually got engaged right around the same time.
Yeah.
All right. So we meet. How did we meet? Tell us.
We met, well,
Or what do you want to add to that?
we'll rewind a little bit. I wasn't living in South Florida at the time.
That's right.
I was in another relationship at the time, but we had taken a break in that relationship, and I was actually living in a different state. Moved there for that relationship just to see if it would work. And she was a great girl from a great family, but just not the right fit for me, not the one that God had for me. So on time that we were apart, I came back because I still had business and properties in South Florida, and went to church because it was my cousin's church. He was the pastor. I had helped build the church, and that was my home church when I was back in South Florida.
So when I started going to the church, Jonathan was not in the picture. I had been going there for maybe a few months, right? And I didn't even know who he was or that he existed. But lo and behold, he was my pastor's cousin.
Yeah. And on one of the trips back, no, before I came back, my cousin had started sending me text messages. Hey, there's this girl that's been coming around. I think that you should probably meet her. And I'm like, oh, that's nice and everything, but I'm living in a different state, in another relationship, not looking for something right now. But as that relationship was coming to a close, and again, I would come back pretty frequently in order to take care of business and some things that I had. I went to church, and that's where we met. And why don't you tell them about the text message you got the night before we met, just to kind of make sure everybody's up to speed.
Yeah, so I had no idea that they had been talking to Jonathan about me, sending him pictures, our pastor at the time, and shout out to Steve Alessi, Mary Alessi, and all of Metro Life Church, because if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be sitting here today. So They have a really special place in our hearts, and we honor them and are grateful for them always and forever. But I get a text message. It was actually the night of my birthday celebration, also the day before Mother's Day. And I get a text message that says, hey, will you be at church tomorrow? I said, yes. And they're like, okay, make sure you dress cute. And I was like, okay. And in my mind, I'm like, do I not always dress cute? What does that mean? How am I supposed to dress for tomorrow, and what is happening? I really had no idea. I had zero clue that I was about to be introduced to my future husband. Just think about that. I just want to put that in perspective for a second. For a lot of you who are waiting on your husband, you never know. It could literally be tomorrow. And so, but don't wait for it to be tomorrow. Keep your focus on the right thing. Keep your focus on God. Keep your focus on other things. And your husband could come tomorrow. And so I went to church that day, and I remember thinking, are they going to call me up on stage and do something silly? I really had no clue. And then after church, service ends. I'm with one of my close friends and my aunt, and service ends, and I'm like, all right, well, service is over. I mean, I don't know what is going on. And I'm start walking to the back of the church, and all of a sudden I see, her name is Desiree. She was standing at the back of the church. She's the one that sent me the text message. And she said, and I see Jonathan standing next to her. And I remember telling my friend, like, oh my gosh, I'm about to be introduced to this guy. Oh my gosh. I just remember freaking out. This is so weird. I can't believe this is happening. I'm totally about to be introduced to someone. And then what do you remember from there?
From there, we just were kind of introduced.
It was awkward. It was totally awkward.
We were introduced.
Yeah.
And I had plans afterwards. So it was kind of like you had your plans, I had my plans. We were introduced, and that was it. And you left, I left, and I was walking to my car. And this is the part where I say she chased me down in the parking lot.
He says that I chased him down in the parking lot.
I was on my way to a baseball game at the University of Miami with some friends. And then this little white BMW pulls up beside me with this smoking hot chick in it.
And my part of the story, my side, is that as we're walking to the car, my girlfriend says, you better date this guy. If you don't, I will. He's good looking, and he's the pastor's cousin, and he's this. And I'm going like, I don't care about any of that. I said to her, I think at some point I said, he's a pastor. I will never date a pastor. Do you know who I am? Do you know my past? I was saved already, but I don't think I fully understood real redemption, and that doesn't matter what your past is or what you've walked through. If you repent and turn towards Jesus and give your life to him, anything is possible. So for me, it was a pastor. First of all, it sounds really boring. Second of all, no. And she's like, well, if you don't marry him, I will. And so I'm just, walking to the car. I'm like, no, 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 this is weird. I can't believe I just got introduced to somebody. So I get in the car, and my side of the story is I truly believe, okay, the Holy Spirit forced me to turn my steering wheel because they said to me, it was my aunt and my friend Raquel. They're like, we're going to lunch. Invite him to lunch with us. Invite him to lunch. And I'm like, I will not go invite him to lunch. And literally my steering wheel just starts turning towards his direction. It was like an out of body experience. It was not me doing it. It was the craziest thing. But it was because I literally pulled up to him, lowered the window, and said, hey, also, I had a little bit of sympathy for you.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, and that's just my heart, it's Mother's Day. You're leaving by yourself. So I'm like, maybe he doesn't have a mom. Maybe his mom's not here. He's by himself. So I kind of wanted to take him in, right? So I did. I said, hey, why don't you come to lunch with us? A group of us are going to eat lunch before, I go celebrate with my mom. Why don't you come with us? And I was surprised. He's like, okay, sure. And I didn't know you had plans to go to a baseball game with friends, but you said yes.
I said yes.
And then what happened? We went to lunch. I'll say this part.
You got gas before.
Oh, this part, yes. Okay, so
This is kind of important.
This is kind of important. Again, why having a relationship with Jesus is so important, because he will talk to you if you're listening. And I went to get gas, and I got out of the car by myself. My friend and my aunt are still in my car. And I'll never forget, I'm about to grab the gas pump, and I hear in my heart, in my thoughts, I hear, this is the man you're going to marry. And I'm like, no, it's not. I don't know why. It's like the thing you pray for, the thing you're waiting on, it starts to happen, or it's happening. And isn't it real that sometimes us women will want to push it away or think it's not what I had envisioned it looking like. It's not the right package. It's not the right person. It's not like all these things I was questioning or doubting or maybe even scared. I think there's a real fear of blessing sometimes that can happen when the blessing actually starts to happen. You hear it happen to people with money, with people. God finally starts giving you the thing you're asking for, and you want to push it away. And that's really what I did. I was like, no, it can't be him. But that's exactly what I heard the Holy Spirit tell me. And we went to lunch.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was a big group of us. I don't know, maybe 8 of us, 10.
I don't remember.
Having breakfast or brunch. And the bill comes. And remember, I'm working woman, independent woman. I wanted someone, but in my mind, it's like, I don't need anybody. That's a lie, okay? The bill comes, and Jonathan goes to pay. And I was like, he's paying for everybody, right? The whole table. He grabs the check. And I'm like, oh, no, that's okay. You don't have to do that. I said, why are you doing that? And he said, and this was the line that got me, he said, because I'm a stubborn man. And I was like, oh, shoot, this is exactly the man I need, actually. So I kind of knew in that moment, this is probably going to be my husband. And yeah, that was kind of the start of a journey of courting. Okay, I do want to talk about this. I don't even care if all of our time gets taken up in this one part of it. For those of you that are single, dating, waiting on your spouse, okay? I did things very differently in this courting and dating period than I had ever done before. I had come from, and maybe you too, I don't know. I mean, we've talked about this, but I don't know if it looks so different from your past dating experiences. But I, thank God, was given so much great wisdom by, again, my pastor at the time, shout out to Mary Leslie, because she really helped me in that season, teaching me how to date, how to be courted, that I had never heard before or been taught, because I just grew up like, you date, you go out a few times, hopefully he pays, hopefully he treats you well, and you see if you like each other and you get engaged and get married. Well, but she taught me a lot of really interesting things. Also, I listened to lots of sermons by Creflo Dollar on dating, and that between her and him, I felt very differently equipped than I had ever been as far as dating goes. And the decisions that I had made at the time were, one, we were not going to have sex. Okay, we were going to do things the way that God intended, the way that the Bible lays out. When I became a believer, I decided I had lived my life so wild and free and so on my own terms and the way that the world said was okay or the way that the world expected. I had done that so much so that when I became a believer, I decided I'm going to go all in the opposite direction. I'm just going to be radical in what the Lord says to do. And I do believe it has to be better than the way I've lived in the past. So sure enough, I made a decision that I was not going to have sex again until I got married. And thank God that Jonathan had made that same decision
years before.
Thing. You made the decision, and it was how long until we met?
like 5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
Dang. We need an episode just on this topic, okay?
Yeah.
Don't have sex before marriage. For me, it wasn't 5 years. It was more maybe 1 year.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember the time, but I knew that when we started dating, I had already stopped. I had just made a decision. This was not going to be something that I was going to do while I was dating anybody until I was married. And that's just something I want to remind any of the ladies listening is it's never too late to make a decision for purity. It's never too late to make a decision to do what God is asking you to do or to live a life in obedience. Even if you've missed it, even if you've done it wrong, it's never too late to say, Lord, I repent, I'm turning to you, and I'm going to do what you tell me to do because I trust you.
And because we weren't having sex and sleeping together and doing all those things, it forced us to actually get to know each other and have conversations and talk and like really get to know each other without something interfering with that process. Yeah. And it really helped us expedite the courting period to where we knew that this was it for us.
Yeah. And that's really what we were intentional about. And that's what I want to share is we did dating differently. Yeah. Jonathan truly courted me. I lived about 45 minutes from him. Was it 45 minutes?
Yeah.
About 45 minutes from him. I lived in Brickell. He lived in Broward. And he drove to see me every single time we got together. He never asked me to go visit him. Maybe later on in our dating, I did a couple times, but he always came to see me. He always paid. Okay. That is not just it's hard because a lot of women will be like, I don't need anybody to pay for me. Well, that's great. You don't need them to pay for you, but it's still something that they're showing. I am the man. I can lead you well. I can provide for you. We can get into this conversation all day, but I'm telling you what, having a man, whether they can or can't, still offer and pay and lead and provide for you. I don't care how much money you make. It's just a thing. Okay. Just trust me.
It's not oppressive. It's not old school or old fashioned.
No, neither is Jonathan. Always opened the door for me. Still does to this day. He drove down and took me out. He paid every time. It was pure chivalry and it was true courting and it was the way that it should be and it should never stop. I don't drive when he's in the car. That's probably another sensitive subject. That's part because he doesn't like the way I drive, but also I just think it's, again, when he's here, when we're together, I'm okay with him leading. It doesn't take anything away from me. It's just the way that it's supposed to be. And don't hear what I'm not saying. If you don't know me, I'm very, I can handle a lot of things. But there's some things that I'm just grateful to be able to give to my husband and not have to take on. And there's things I can take on and do that he doesn't have to. So it works beautifully. But I say all that to say it was courting in its truest, most pure, perfect form. We went on a lot of walks. We just had a lot of great conversations because when you're not having sex and you get in a disagreement, you have to talk it out. There's no makeup sex and then forget it even happened and never actually address the issue, which is what usually happens when you're dating.
And we even traveled together.
Yeah.
We both had that line that we weren't willing to cross.
Yeah. And it really, I was just recently talking to a friend who's dating. She's like, it's so difficult. I can't do it. I'm like, it's like any other form of obedience and willpower. It's not easy. I told her we played a lot of racquetball. We went on a lot of walks. We purposefully tried to not be in the same room together or bed together, or when we could, we were really intentional about keeping that space. So it does take work, but it's worth it. Okay. Everyone always asks me, how did you get engaged so fast in 6 months? I'm like, because we weren't having sex. Most men are just wired that way. If you are sleeping with them, that's one of the reasons God designed it this way, because he knows the men he created. If you are having sex, most men won't rush to give you a ring when they're already getting everything that the ring would provide. You're letting them sleep with you. You're living with them. You're playing wifey. Like, play wifey without a ring, you're probably not going to become wifey. It's just the way it goes. I know I sound really fiery right now, but this is so important that we get this because it's real and it's true and it makes a difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so he courted me, we dated. Oh, so some of the things we did that are different. We didn't sit next to each other at church until we were engaged. Why? If you go to a big church and you know everybody and everybody knows you and you're in your dating season and you're dating Joe and you sit next to Joe all the time and then you and Joe stop dating and then you sit next to Bobby and then you and Bobby stop dating. And it's like, whether you're sleeping together or not, no matter what, it always just gives a picture of, oh, she's with that guy now or that guy now. And while we don't live for the opinion or input of others, it is important that you don't ever give people a reason to question things or put things in their minds that isn't there. And so people didn't even know we were dating when we got engaged. Some people were like, I didn't even know you guys were dating.
Yeah.
We didn't go on alone dates. We went mostly on group dates. For the first 3 months, we were getting to know each other.
Yeah.
What was the other thing? We didn't sleep together. I already said that. We went on dates. Jonathan courted me, like I said. And there was something else. Didn't sit next to each other at church. Group dates. Those are probably the most important ones, to really just make it a point to give people time in a group setting to interact versus just being alone right off the bat. It's also easier to
And
not.
also, when you're in a group setting, when you're getting to know somebody, that you're infatuated with them, you don't see a lot of red flags. But if you're in a group setting, the people who are your friends are going to see things that you're not seeing.
Yeah.
So it's important to expose the person that you're dating to your friends so that they might see something that you don't see.
Yeah.
So
so we get engaged.
Yeah.
6 months after we met.
Yeah, we were in New York City.
Yeah.
And I remember you looking at me and saying, how do you know that you know?
Yeah. And you said?
And I said, I don't know. I just know. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was just one of those things where we just knew we were both close to God, hearing from God. And we just felt like, okay, it's time.
Yeah. So we got back and I let you plan your engagement party without you knowing.
Yeah.
It was your engagement party.
I still don't know how you pulled that off. It was a Christmas play at church, and I love gathering people a lot. And I love my people to know everybody, everybody to get along, everybody to get together. And so it was Christmas service, Christmas play. And I'm like, oh, how about we get together afterwards? And one of my parents' friends were like, yeah, you guys can come to our house. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And so I start can this person come? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now my mom and her friends are going to get to meet my church friends and family. And before you knew it, it was 75 people that were invited to my parents' closest friend's house. I'm thinking we're all just getting together for a fun Christmas party. I am like in heaven with the details of this party because it just sounds so fun to have all my people together, not knowing it was the night Jonathan was going to propose to me. I literally had no clue. It was the craziest thing until I get there and I see my dad's car. And I'm like, wait, my dad wasn't supposed to come. And then I walk in and Jonathan grabs my hand and they're all pouring champagne. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is literally my engagement. Oh, I can't believe this is happening. We walk outside, there's 75 people surrounding the pool. And he gets on his knees, on his one knee, and asked me to marry him.
Yeah. And she said yes.
I said yes.
So that was about 6 months after we met.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when you're not sleeping with one another, you're ready to get married quicker.
Yeah.
And it was about 6 months after that we got married.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to say this. A lot of people are like, well, how did you know? What if it's so fast and you haven't slept together? What if he turns out to be somebody else? What if you don't enjoy sleeping together once you do? I'm like, listen, when you trust God with your life and the details of it, he's not going to leave things like that out. Okay. He's not going to be like, okay, you've waited. I've given you your future husband. I told you he was for you. I connected you guys. The way you met was thanks to me, all the details. And then be like, oh, but this part is going to be terrible. No, it doesn't work like that. So I just want to encourage you to trust him for every part of your life. And I will say this is the other thing I thought of is before I met Jonathan, I was praying for my husband. Even though I gave it to God, I gave it to the Lord. There was a point where I had a list of really specific things I was praying for. And it wasn't like I want him to have money and I want him to drive this car. It was like the man I wanted him to be, what I wanted him to be like, what I wanted our life to be like. And you know what? Every single minus one thing, every single one of those prayers were answered from my list.
She wanted a guy that was 6'2", and I fall just a couple inches short of that.
And in his prayer list of his wife, he wanted a blonde. And I'm like, well, you got the brunette. I got somebody a little shorter than 6'2". God knows exactly what he's doing.
And we both got what we needed.
We did. We both got exactly what we needed. So just trust him fully for all of your life and all the details of it.
And that was 15 years ago, babe.
Yeah, 15 years ago. And this episode really wasn't going to be that much detail about our dating and courting and pre-marriage, but that's where it went. And I think that's probably what everybody needs to hear. And we'll kind of end it with this. Along the way, there's been ups and downs and moves and heartache. I mean, you guys have heard a lot of the story of the last 15 years. There was a season even in the last few years where we were having a really hard time because of so much transition and change and moving and starting new businesses and kids in school. There was a season about a couple years ago where we were not doing well. We were not okay. I remember one day just being like, I'm done. And that didn't mean for me, we're getting a divorce. We don't even use that word in our marriage. But I was just done with the way that things were. I was frustrated. I'm sure there was a lot to it, but it was really a hard season for us. We had to learn how to communicate better. We had to learn this new life of us working together, which that can be its own episode by itself, because when you're used to like, I stay home with the kids, you run the business, and now it's like, nope, kids are at school, we're going to do this together. And you have a strong leader who's very used to doing things by himself, and you have me who's a verbal processor and wants to do everything together. That creates some tension. So there was a season a couple years ago where we struggled. And so what I want to share in that is we didn't just stay there though. We knew we had to fight for our marriage. We started getting counseling. We started praying together almost every single day. We started taking communion together. We started going on intentional dates, spending intentional time together. And we're still in a process of learning to communicate and learning to work together. I don't think that ever ends, but it's just getting better and better. And so I just want to encourage you guys that marriage is not just something like any part of your life. You can't just live on autopilot and expect it to work out. You can't expect what worked 10 years ago or when you had one kid to work when you have 3 and 2 businesses. And it's constantly evolving, constantly taking different amounts of work and a lot of check-ins. And the last thing I'll say, and then I'll let you finish, babe, is don't underestimate the power of prayer in your marriage and always taking things to the Lord before you take them to your spouse. There are so many things I have worked out with Jesus before Jonathan even had to hear about it. And I thank God for that, because had I gone to him first, it wouldn't have gone as well. And so take everything. I mean, I'll sit with Jesus or walk if I'm on a prayer walk, and I will word vomit all the things. And he's doing this, and I don't like this, and why is this happening? And I'm crying out to God about Jonathan, complaining or questioning or freaking out. I mean, lots of things. And as soon as I do that, man, it settles. I'm calm. And I always pray the same thing. God, you change his heart or change mine. I want you to be in charge. If I'm seeing this wrong, show me, correct me. And if he is, and there's something he can do, you tell him. Like, Holy Spirit, you tell him. And or there's also been times where I do have to come in and we'll have a conversation. I'm not saying just take it to Jesus and don't communicate, but it's way better that when you communicate after going to him, after going to Jesus, versus just spewing everything directly at your spouse before taking it to him in your prayer time. All right. Anything you want to add?
So that's our origin story, how we came about 15 years ago. We hope something in it resonates with you or helps you along your journey. And the story that we're about to tell next, you definitely want to make sure that you catch. It's a story of betrayal before breakthrough. And the details of this we've never really shared publicly. So I'm a little bit nervous about it, but I know that it'll bless you. So if you like this episode, make sure that you hit subscribe, send it to some friends. We're starting to get people reach out to us and tell us how much that it's blessed them or encouraged them. And that's our prayer and our goal for this podcast. Even had somebody come up to me at the gym the other day and said, hey, I watched what you guys are doing and I'm loving it. So if that's you, just keep the comments coming, and it really encourages us to continue to put forth this content and share our story in hopes that it helps you. Before you go, remember, God can use anything. Even the hardest parts of your story can become seeds for multiplication.
If this episode encouraged you, share it with a friend, leave a review, or subscribe so you never miss a moment of hope and truth.
You can also follow us on Mandate to Multiply on Instagram or mandatetomultiply.com to keep growing with us.
Until next time, trust God, steward well what's in your hand,
and live a life fully multiplied.